Так, начинаем наш следующий доклад.
So we are going to start our next presentation, and Kristina will tell us about monies, the metrics to prioritize bugs. Hi everyone, my name is Kristina, and I'm responsible for the manual and automatic testing in a company Clean. This is the largest service to order apartment cleaning. Our priority has always been developing of an IT platform. We have a small testers department split into 5 product groups. Once my team had a task which I will describe in my presentation. Could you tell me, please, if you ever experienced ROI and you know what it is? Great. I saw hands up, so I think it'll be interesting for us all to compare our experience and then find out what the best practice is. I'll tell you how we use it in testing and how it has become our lever to influence product management. Let's assume you detected a bug, which is not that critical, but it's not convenient for a user to have such a bug, and you think that it needs to be fixed in the next sprint for those who work on Scrum methodology. You start to communicate with the product manager who disagrees with you because he feels there are other tasks that need to be prioritized and there is not enough possibility or lack of resources, and let's fix it later. But later you will have many more bugs which will not be that critical, that will just be get stored in the backlog. This happens because the product manager and the tester think of different things. The product manager is interested in the profit and how to solve the tasks that support profit income. So when selecting what to put in the sprint, the preference will be given to a new product hypothesis, but not to settle down a package of bugs. This happens when the tester and the product manager view bugs differently. What is more important, user happiness or profit? Then we need to ask ourselves the question, how could we save time on discussing what should be included in the sprint and why fixing this bug has more importance than doing any other tasks, and how to establish the bug evaluation procedure, which will be clear for the business development department and for the testers department. That's why we need to talk to the business in their language. We need to show the metrics which the business understands, and that is money. ROI becomes an effective tool for business development. This sounds very beautiful, but if you think that we're just geeks, we're counting every single bug, but this is not so. Bugs which we detected as part of the testing task, of course, are not that critical, but the bugs that are being stored in the backlog or the bugs that are just sent immediately to the backlog after being detected should be calculated, and we need to prioritize their importance so that in future the development department will more efficiently use its own resources and not postpone the bugs that will bring profit if being fixed. And also to think that there is no need to pay that much attention to solving the bugs that will not save money. The strongest parts or the strongest aspect of such an approach are as follows. The difficulties are, first, it's difficult to prioritize a bug. Sometimes it's not easy to evaluate them. The backlog with the bugs could be overloaded, or the bugs have not been changed in terms of their status for long. It's not clear how we should further process them. If you are using the Scrum Master, you might be limited with the time resource because Jira priority says that there is not enough arguments. If a project manager sees the arguments, and he might decide whether we are trying to take up this sprint or not. So he will be making decision based on other factors and not selecting the priority to fix the bug or not. Another aspect to evaluate whether the bug is to be fixed right now is to find the expert advice of other specialists, which also means spending money and resources of the company. And the instrument may help in all other situations where a financial argument has to be brought. For instance, you need to explain why you need to hire one more tester in your team. I'll tell you how can you make the calculations. All discussions related to return or I require explanation of certain financial terminology. Let me give you some financial training. ROI, which is the ratio, return on investment, which indicates whether it's profitable or whether investment is profitable or whether it will bring losses. Such a ratio is very often used when you need to calculate the profitability of the advertising campaign, of any activities or something. And knowing this, I may come to my product manager, inform him that such a critical or uncritical, seemingly uncritical bug leads to 300,000 euros loss per month. That's the easiest way to deliver the message to the product manager that if such a bug is not fixed, then we're just losing money. And ROI might be a coefficient to help us prioritize all the bugs in the backlog, compare them to one another and start fixing them. But we need data to make the calculation on the ROI ratio. There are different ways how you calculate it. There are different formulas how to calculate the ROI indicator. Profit minus investment will be the figure that shows our real wages. If we divide it by investment, we will see the ratio, how much the first figure differs from the second one. And if the investment is below 100, then it will not pay off. In order to calculate the investment amount, we need to understand how many testers will be responsible with the bugs fixing, how much working time they will spend, and what is the daily salary rate of a tester. I'm not sure whether you would like to share the amount of money paid to you. Just take an average, and when you multiply everything, then that'll be the investment. After that, you'll have to calculate the net profit. All the accepted metrics are quite well known, but each company can update them depending on the activity of your company. So you just have to talk to a product manager and decide what indicators, what metrics you are going to use to evaluate for your department. So what we use is that AOV, which is the average order value, showing their income per each user, or which is an average income. So we divide in a certain way. If an average receipt will amount to 1,100 rubles. In our particular case, usually the average receipt amount is something which is already known, which is stated, and there is no need to calculate it once again. Knowing this figure, I can calculate the gross merchandise volume, which is GMV. This is total amount of the product transactions for a different period of time. And when we multiply the average receipt value to the number of orders, then we'll get the GMV. And finally, we will be able to calculate the profit. The profit can only be calculated after we deduct all the business operational expenses, such as the salary, such as the shares. So in the end, contribution margin will show us how the costs are deducted and what is in.
So, for the managers, it's quite difficult to look for this additional costs on daily basis. So that's why we have some approximate ratio in percents, like of the variable cost to the turnover. And you now know how to convert all bugs from backlog to money and to reduce it. So, if you think it's not quite clear, I've prepared two practical cases. One is more complex, another one is more simple. So this is the simpler one. As we are a product company, so we are owning and developing the products, and we separate the bugs into development, product development, and technical. For example, technical bugs. It's like something wrong with the functionality. For example, there is no address in the order, or customer cannot add additional services, or he places an order on the date where the slots are already closed. I remind you that we are a cleaning company, so that's why, of course, we are giving you the examples from our practical activity. And this is a practical example. So in the address input field, there is an auto-suggest feature, and if one letter is wrong, so it offers the right version, but however, there is no mistake. So there are just two towns, two localities with almost same name, but you cannot input the right name of the city, and you can only input the one which is in the memory of the application. Also, here you have an example with the average order value. So you can normally take all the data from the database, but you normally don't do that because this is the metrics which analytics have. So you multiply this value by the quantity and you get the turnover, 930 rubles. And here you can see the variable costs and its ratio to turnover. From GMV you can deduct the variable costs and get the net profit, 186,000 rubles. So the profit is known, and we have to only settle the investment issues. So this is, for example, the developer. For example, one day of his work is 8,500 rubles, and then we know this, and to calculate the cost of the product, we insert it in the formula, and that's the result, higher than 100%. It means that every ruble spent on bug fixing yields a return of 20 rubles. And if we project that on a month or on a year, then you see how much we save. So in most of the technical bugs, it's like that. It's more difficult with the product bugs, and here we have to use logic, reason, and normally it's a mistake of the content, of business logic, convenience, or visual error. It influences the product, but it doesn't break up completely the functionality. For example, the segment for visualization of application is not proper, or it's not possible to input promo code, etc. So let's look at this bug. For example, when a person tries to use the referral program, invite a friend, and to place an order with this program. And normally there is no discount applied to an order placed through the referral program. There was information about the discount we normally provide at any flow, but it's not applied here. But nevertheless, even if user tries to place an order through the referral program, he sees the message about the discount. And if we look at that, we understand that there are more disadvantages than advantages if we do it like that. And also it's very difficult to count how many orders were placed through this program, or how many cards were linked through the program, because we don't make this prioritization. So that's why we can use this metrics, LTV metrics. It's the total profit from one customer during the whole period of customer-company cooperation. And all the users can be divided into two types. Users which came through the privileges loyalty program, but normally these users buy services or products only when there are discounts, awards, some gifts. And the second type of customers, those who are not motivated by discounts only, they just want to purchase a product and pay for that. And this is normally the most reliable group of customers with the most long-lasting cooperation. Can you guess which of these groups yields the biggest profit for the company? The first or the second? Raise your hand who thinks the first is and the second. Okay, it's quite interesting. It would be quite interesting to talk to those who voted for the first group after my presentation. It was interesting how you arrive at this idea. And so also I calculated that one user who came on his own, we get 2,500 net profit rubles. And the user who came through the discounts program is 2,100 only because there were some discounts. We lost some money. So but the first group was 2,090 persons who totally came, and the second was less. So with the first group we get margin 5 million, and with the second 2 million. So the difference is quite big. Why? Because these two groups, these two types of buyers have different attitude to pricing. And if we fix this bug, we make the gap between the experience and the experience of high quality, reliable customers less. So, and we will save 5%, which is 260,000 rubles, and this is our profit. This is our payback on the bug fixing. So we just need the investment. So also we need only one developer to fix it. His cost is, as in the previous example, 8,500 rubles. We insert it in the formula and see the result. So if we get result as this, we can add it to the next sprint and promote this bug fixing. If we have to get the qualitative productivity indicator, then we can convert subjective indicators of profitability into quite specific figures. And the efficiency here depends directly on the quality of the collected data. In our company, we collect data using two methods. First, queries that do not require deep technical knowledge. These ones we can generate ourselves, and those where we need understanding of the tables and the interconnection, that is done by the analytics in our company. The product bugs, collection data for these bugs is more difficult, but this process can be automated. The calculation can be automated. For this, we use a calculator where we just input two values, the quantity of orders per month and the investment amount. And at the output, we get two values, like ROI for 1 month and for 1 year, Y for months and for a year. Because some products have low payback, but it's different in different periods of time. So we have to also evaluate the dynamics and compare the risks. For example, if we fix the button of transfer from the log of our site to our main landing, we will return only 101% per year, per month, but it will be more than 1,000% per year. If we fix it, so there is no immediate result, but we will prevent loss of profits for the whole year. And then we can open this bug in grooming, for example, and track it and see the payback. Which auxiliary instruments we can use? 320% the payback of a bug. Is it high or low payback? So the horizontal line is the ROI value, and the vertical is time to market. So some products produce no return on investment, and it takes quite a lot of time to fix it, so it's not reasonable. Others are fixed quite quickly, and the return on investment is quite good. So that's the point. So the advantage of this approach is that we reduce the amount of needless work, like waste of time, for all team members, efficient distribution of resources, saving on investments. Also, all participants in your business processes can speak the same language. Thank you for your attention.
Please ask questions, then Kristina will choose the question which she likes most of all. Somebody will be given a t-shirt. Kristina, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very interesting. Could you tell me, please, is there any comparison between the expected and factual ROI? Do you collect metrics after fixing a bug to estimate what was their profit, what was the benefit of fixing this or that bug, and do the figures comply with their calculations which you had made? Thank you for the question. This is a very good question. Yes, we do make analytical reports every week. We do not calculate how the bug fixation influenced the profit, but we clearly can see the trend whether the financial outcome is positive or not. But if a tester does certain calculations before, here he's included in the sprint and immediately afterwards, this would not take that much time because you already have requests which can be checked if there is a necessity, if there is trust within the team, and if you can calculate whether their calculations were done efficiently. It is quite good, and this is a fast and effective solution. Have you ever had cases when after fixing a bug you notice some negative trend like loss of profit or something that the bug didn't pay back? Has it ever happened? Well, actually it never happened that a bug fixation didn't pay back, because when you're making calculations you can see how much profit exceeds investment. So a negative situation would be possible if the investment were 8.5 and the profit was 10 or vice versa. But if you really get such tremendous values, thousands of percentages, then it's not that relevant. Good afternoon. I have a question. Do you have to include in all these formulas the expenses and the cost for the investigations, meaning how much time a tester or analytic spend? And do you also have to include the fact that if you have two expensive bugs and you are only fixing one bug in a sprint, which means the fixing of the second one will be postponed and you may lose because you postpone fixation of the second bug? Thank you for the question. This is a good question, but you could add to investment all the expenses that you know will occur. If you know that two testers will work on that bug and it will take them 20 minutes or it might take them a couple of hours, you should add into investment all the expenses associated with their work, as well as any other expenses that may affect the correctness of your estimations. Our target was not to provide 100% exact calculation, because ROI is only a tentative coefficient. It can show us what the dynamics is going to be. Regarding your second part of your question, you see we are using sprints in our work. Usually a sprint lasts 1 week. It is quite unlikely, but let's assume a situation happens and takes quite a lot of time. So instead of a product hypothesis, you could include bug in a sprint if it is financially necessary. Good afternoon, my name is Alexei, and I have two questions. One is the practical one. You called some of the cities Korolyuk, you studied your database and you selected the names of the cities in the database, but how did you do it? Because you told us that if there is a bug in the front, like transaction could not happen if a person enters the name of the city Korolyov, or if he enters the name of the city spelled with the letter Yo, then how did you manage to calculate the number of problems, number of bugs? And the second question is, what should we do if a product is a sale of subscription? This product has a real mode version. Namely, a person can use the product for free for 1 month period and starts paying only after the trial period. So the question is, are there mechanisms allowing to implement metrics, which you had explained, without sufficient engagement of the support team? Can product managers implement certain mechanisms to be able to evaluate that the person gave up using our product because of the bug in the functionality, or a person just, the reason was that the product is not user-friendly, or there was some other reason? Well, first part of your question, you were asking how we calculated the average from the two cities if the user at the front cannot make the orders. In such cases, we have a support, and users contact the support desk and order from their side. So anyway, they register the orders via admin, and we can trace how many orders are made on average with the support desk. Then, is this metrics precise? I've told you before that this metrics is not 100% precise, and its precision depends on the correctness of the data collected. Here, we see there might be certain fluctuations, because there might be problems. Somebody simply gave it up on the flow sheet and decided not to order by phone. And yes, we do include such a possibility of a variation. And product managers understand that the data is not 100% precise. Your second part of the question refers to the product, meaning what influenced. Maybe interface could influence the situation, but I cannot give you the answer right now because it takes time to study it. It takes time to think how product bugs affect the metrics. It would be quite complicated to independently understand, oh yes, it is. So you need to talk to the product manager, work together, and based on the activity of your company, you will see what areas require your attention. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your report and presentations. Are there any other metrics, and how they refer to ROI? What do you mean by other metrics? So you told us about application of ROI to evaluate the level of priority. Do you mean that if we're using any other metrics to set up priorities? Yes, we do. We use another additional tool. It is not a key tool, it's just only a magic wand, which we sometimes use if there is a need, and if we believe that this is a painful problem for a user, or some product is not being bought, and you still believe that this is a priority, then you could use such a tool. And we use a matrix of user pain. It consists of 3 elements, which includes the type of a bug, the possibility of bug occurrence, meaning how many users have it. Maybe only users of Android platform experience these bugs, which is less popular in iOS. And the third criteria is the priority. So we're trying to analyze how it can affect the opinion about the product among the users, and will the user change the priorities once they make the order. But this metrics is only used for the bugs that has been in the backlog for quite a long time, and we don't know what to do about it. Thank you for the question. Thank you for your report. Could you tell me, please, how do you include additional expense into this single calculation? For example, a bug has not been fixed for quite a long time, and we are not doing this because we're just not doing bug fixing. So what would you do in such cases? Are you asking whether we invest time? My question is, how do you also include different reproductive expenses and additional expenses, indirect expenses, when you are evaluating the profit or loss of profit? We do not consider indirect expenses because our target was not to provide really precise detail. Our target was to provide the trends in the changes after fixing a bug. But if you wish, you could include in the investment all the expenses, working time of the specialists, and any other expenses that might occur, including direct ones. And I have told you before, each company can adapt this tool depending on the activity of a company and on the settings that you might apply. Thank you for your presentation. Tell me, please, how many metrics are worth to be collected? And what is the limit? Or does it work that we have a new bug, a new metrics, because at some stage you may just get lost? It's a good question, but I'll get back to how we rank the bugs. For the technical bugs, we apply one and the same metrics. In our company, we have a particular set of metrics. In your company, they might be different. But you could clearly see how a technical bug affects the income per each user. When you're asking what new metrics may require, these new metrics refer mainly to the new products because it's not really clear what metrics could be used and which bugs may occur in a new product. That is why it is important to have experience, and you have to discuss with the analytics how such things could be happened. And also you need to understand and need to know what metrics your company uses, because if you do not know the scope of metrics used by your company, you may not even remember, you might not even know that they are. If a bug affects attraction of new customers, then you need to evaluate the customer acquisition cost, meaning how much it costs to acquire a new customer. So the more metrics your companies you are aware about, the better and the easier it will be for you to prioritize the bugs. In a way, a product manager should also understand the interrelation between the bugs and the product and how it affects the company. And what if a company does not have a metric at all? If a company is just noticing, do you have cases if your company introduced completely new metrics? No, my company will have never done it, but if you do, that will be a wonderful new experience. Any other questions, please? Thank you very much for the presentation. So could you tell me, please, at each level you evaluate the metrics and correlate them to bugs? Who is doing it? The tester upon finishing the bug fixation, or is the product manager together with this business analyst calculate together? and how much time it takes. And what is the attitude from developers' side? For instance, the developers may say, okay, why didn't you evaluate this or that box, how it affected the ROI? Developers do not complain. As a rule, they're less interested in business development goals. They are more interested in solving technical questions, and they provide technical expertise. Product manager might say something, but he should be interested in getting the biggest profit within the shortest time period. Oh, could you please remind me what was your first part of the question, please? Is it the tester who evaluates the importance of a bug? Because the tester may be not enough educated in financial aspects. It is true, a tester evaluates and prioritizes the bugs fixation. There is a draft, but the product manager can also provide you with a template how he evaluates which bugs should be included in the sprint or not. And then one can adapt the metrics required to evaluate the priority of a bug and be included in the task list to do. Sometimes there are metrics which are not that evident, and there are bugs which even you may not know about or how they affect the financial performance of the company. But sometimes it would be good to voice some proposed solution to the product manager and start working.
So, this quite simple example, the efficiency of the method is quite clear. It's clear that it works, but if we take a more complex example, more complex case, is it efficient to use it in communication with product manager, because the analytic knows metrics better. So, and here we take not the bugs which are quite evident that it's necessary to fix them, but we have to prove as testers that these bugs needs to be fixed. And if they are in the prod, then the analytic has probably put it in there and lobbied that they don't have to be fixed. Like, this is a complex case, and I want to ask whether this method is efficient in such complex cases. Yes, your question is, well, it depends on the processes in the company or in the team, because in your company probably analytics takes the decision but in our company tester takes this decision independently, him and product manager. Product manager might say that, well, we don't fix it because he read some new product hypothesis, some theory, and he thinks that he doesn't need to fix the bugs. He needs to resolve some tasks, some new developments which will more profit. He just forgets about that. It's good when somebody analyzes that and first decides whether it's profitable or not to fix the bugs, but sometimes people just forget about that. The PM knows that he has to check the hypothesis, analytics knows that he has to collect statistical data to provide it, like statistics of the team efficiency, how it pays back. And the tester is the person who has to control the quality point and the bugs, recommend that they have to be fixed, etc., etc. So within this context, we might say that yes, this is justified. However, if your analytic doesn't fix the bugs because he analyzed that, well, it's evident that it won't pay back, then it's okay. So you can ask all other questions afterwards. Now we have the last question. Thank you very much for the presentation, for the cases with quite good practical, clear examples. I have quite an unexpected question. When you were a child, what was your dream? Who you would become when you grow up? would be your profession?
Такому я не готовилась.
I'm not ready to such a question. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not ready to answer.
Кристина, выбери самый понравившийся тебе вопрос.
Christina, you have to select the question you like most. You have to choose the winner.
Мне понравился. Поднимите руки, кто задавали вопрос.
So please raise hands, everybody who asked questions.
Мне понравился вопрос.
I like the question of this
Спасибо за вопрос.
young lady. Thank you for your question.
Спасибо, Кристина.
Thank you, Christina, for your presentation.